city of my birth, and the place I have so much pride in. The recession, of course, has gripped all of our cities and governments, and of course including the state and just about every state across America. Philadelphia hovers somewhere around 11% unemployment, 25% level of poverty in our city. A recent study indicated that for a family of four to really be able to live a decent life in the city, you needed an income of about $60,000. At that standard, certainly more than 25% of our population would be living below that standard as laid out in a new survey. All of you are in government, so this is a crowd that needs no introduction to our trials and tribulations. The traditional signs of recession. For Philadelphia, we were somewhat slow, actually, as compared to some other cities going into it. We didn't have some of the activity that many others had with a tremendous run-up of housing boom. We've had a steady housing increase, but it didn't go too crazy in Philadelphia. And we have a pretty stable economy. In Philadelphia, generally, when the nation is going up, we go up, but not at the same level. When it goes down, we don't go down at the same level. And so we were a little slow going into the recession. I believe, unfortunately, we're going to be a little slow coming out of it. Notwithstanding what the folks tell us on TV at the national level, all of these signs about manufacturing and employment and a number of other indicators, for the rest of us living on the ground in real places in real time, we know that that has not exactly trickled its way down to every street, but certainly in our city. When I took office in January of 2008, coming out of, as David talked about, the primary and the general election in 2007, there was certainly an excitement about reform. It was in the air. There were two big issues among all the other issues in the campaign, but pretty much dominated by crime and corruption. I'll talk about both in a little while. But we had a stack of policy papers. People were excited, and we really hit the ground running. My previous time as city council was very, very helpful. I've worked directly with two mayors and had studied one before. Became pretty much a student of city government. And some of the many challenges at that time, some of the same things that we're grappling with today. Soaring pension and health care costs, rising prison population. All of these costs, of course, pretty much fixed, not a whole lot, at least for the first two that you can do about them in the short term, and they will eat up your budget. Next year, 25% of the city's budget, we have about a $4 billion budget in Philadelphia, 25% of it will be consumed by pension and health care costs alone. Now, what they didn't mention, I won the election in November of 2007. We had to wait until the next summer for the federal government to tell us that the country had actually slipped into recession in December of 2007. I wish that someone had mentioned it a little earlier. I do want to assure you that it is a sheer coincidence between my being elected in November of 2007 and the country slipping into recession in December of 2007. I had nothing to do with it whatsoever. But we've been hit by it and hit pretty hard. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that have happened, some of the things that we've done, and the ways that we're going to work our way out of it. We are one of the only major cities in the United States of America that not only has to produce a balanced budget, no surprise there, but we have the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Authority, also known as PICA, because no one wants to say that long name more than once, that requires us to pass not only a balanced budget, our home rule charter tells us that, but we also have to pass a 5-year plan. Each one of those years in the 5-year plan also has to be balanced. And that requires a tremendous amount of fiscal discipline, which is a good thing. But it also takes away one of the options and tools that many other big cities across America or any other size city, which is that you can do one-time things and solve a lot of problems and push off many of the things that you're trying to get done. In our particular case, PICA insists, and they have the power to withhold money from the city, if we don't demonstrate to them, to their liking, that we have 5 one-year balanced budgets in that 5-year plan, they will withhold funds from the city of Philadelphia. Philly also has one of the highest tax burdens. When you add in local and state taxes, we have one of the highest local tax burdens of any of the big cities in the country. Our first year budget was a budget of growth in areas where there had been much disinvestment or lack of investment in a variety of ways. We did not go on crazy spending sprees. We did things like hired more police officers, put more EMS services into place, made additional commitments. I'm a big education person, so I increased funding to community college of the city of Philadelphia, to our Fairmount Park system, to arts and culture, and it was a good budget year. We came through well, it was balanced, everything was moving along. You know, of course, what happened that summer. In summer of 2008, I had a couple visits from my finance director and chief of staff. Did not look particularly happy. Like, what's up, guys? Well, we need to tell you that we think that we're starting to run out of money. Okay, we just passed a balanced budget 3 months ago. What's going on? We had already started to see signs of deterioration in our real estate transfer tax. We had made some adjustments for that. But all other tax revenues were either even or actually still going up. We started a precipitous drop in the summer of 2008, where we were literally starting to go into a cash conservation mode. By November, shortly after the election in 2008, 2 days literally after the presidential election, I announced that the city had a $1 billion 5-year plan deficit, and if we didn't plug that hole quickly, things would continue to deteriorate. Tax reductions, both wage and business tax reductions that had been started by then Mayor Rendell in the mid-90s, I immediately announced that we would have to suspend those tax reductions. We had a $108 million current fiscal year problem. We then laid off or reduced employment by 220 positions immediately, stopped our tax reduction strategy, canceled all unfilled or vacant positions that we plan to fill later that fiscal year, as well as seasonal jobs. Significantly reduced overtime, cut spending, unfortunately, in our libraries. I was the 2005 American Library Association Politician of the Year, and so that hurt a great deal, as well as cut my own salary and my chief of staff salary by 10%, all cabinet officers 5%, everyone in the exempt positions in our city government took 5 furlough days in 2009 and 10. Those salary cuts are still in place, none of which have been restored. We closed that hole. And by January of 2009, I then announced that we had another $1 billion 5-year plan deficit. And by the time I introduced our budget in March, that had grown to $1.4 billion. We then took other spending reduction measures, laid off more people, cut more services, raised more fees, but also went to the General Assembly and asked for legislative authority. We did not ask for any money. The legislative authority to raise the sales tax in Philadelphia and partially defer 2 years of pension fund obligations, not the whole obligation, but a part of it, to solve what then had grown to a $2.4 billion 5.5-year plan challenge. I spent 5 months petitioning the General Assembly, 17 different visits. Many were overnight or multiple day visits, just to get the General Assembly to give us the authority. It was not a tax vote, no matter how anyone might want to characterize it, especially in the political year. City Council had already passed the bill. We just needed legislative authority to enact it. We eventually got that. The day before, I was in a position to then, if we were not successful, we would have had to lay off 3,000 public employees, 729 police officers, 200 firefighters and paramedics, and the list got worse and worse as time went on. We're also in the midst of negotiating contracts with our 4 municipal unions. Police and fire go to interest arbitration. 2 ASME unions, District Council 33 and District Council 47, go through a more traditional collective bargaining process. We had negotiated 1-year contracts with all of them. The city had not had 1-year contracts with labor unions in anyone's memory. And people questioned the smartness of doing them. Subsequently, we were found to be geniuses. Every now and then you get lucky. Put on the table that we needed significant changes, which is why we did 1-year contracts. We needed more time and more information to really dig into what do we really want in terms of pension changes, healthcare changes, issues like furloughs, work rule changes, and the like. But we also needed to save a significant amount of money in our labor contracts, where more than 60% of our city budget, of course, and it's probably in many instances the same for many of you, 60+% of our costs is in people. So if you're going to save money, you have to save it on the people side. It's either wages or it's benefits, or you reduce the size of your workforce.